Are you sick of vampires that go to high school and twinkle in the sun? Yeah? No? Are you fatigued by bloodsuckers that drink fake blood? Think there was an answer in there? Our next guest has the cure for softcore scares. Please welcome one of the masters of horror, Guillermo del Toro, everybody! These are people. They're gonna throw roses. They're gonna go crazy. I'm telling you. All right, so Guillermo, let me ask you. There are, of course, the vampires that sparkle in the sun. There's the vampires with the capes and the fangs and the accents. There's Justin Bieber. Where do your vampires fit in to the realm of creepy characters?
They come from European folklore, from older myths. The original conception of the vampire is that it's essentially a parasitic creature. Mm-hmm. It's a dead body inhabited by a will not of its own. You know, so something else takes over the body, and it's essentially a craving, a stomach with a mouth and two legs, and they which is like me.
That description makes it sound terrible and frightening. So where did it get lost between being this horrific desire and this parasite to a lot of LA look gelled back hair with the pasty white skin and the big over-the-top castles? Like what got lost in translation there?
Well, what happened is when the first vampire story on English language was published, called The Vampire by John W. Polidori, he wrote that short story and based the vampire's character called Lord Ruthven, he based it on a famous poet, romantic poet called Lord Byron. And Lord Byron was a seducer. He was like a rock star, you know, and he wrote it as both the monster and the rock star. And I think that dual personality has survived up until now.
You have sort of taken it back to its roots then. Your vampires are scary, thank you for doing that. But it's actually not it's not born out of a freak accident or a biological spill. I mean, it's a disease, right? It is a parasite that's infecting humans.
It's a living viral epidemic. All these characters, all these creatures respond to a single will. Mm-hmm. So it's like a hive mentality. There is a character, a vampire called the Master, and essentially his will inhabits all the corpses. And these creatures are absolutely nasty. They are human leeches. And I think that there's no sensual pleasure in being sucked by them.
No, I get it.
Not at all. No Brad Pitt, no...
It parallels society's response to Jersey Shore. Everybody's becoming just these terrible, terrible abominations of human beings. And I read your New York Times op-ed piece where you talk about technology is an interesting thing to bring in, that in the first few vampire tales, the reason they took off was because they incorporated the technology of the time so well. It sounded like you were saying that technology is almost a distraction to society these days, that it provides a layer of security and comfort, but at the end of the day, your soul's still up for grabs. We're all screwed if something happens. Do you just hate iPhones? Like, where does that come from?
I love them. I'm a techno geek, but at the end of the day, I know that once all that is gone, you know, you're alone in the universe. You're ultimately confronted with truths and things beyond you. Dracula, the Bram Stoker novel, was high tech. Mm-hmm. Was very much like a Tom Clancy novel, but he was using cutting-edge technology back then, like typewriters and
and blood transfusions,
which now it seems so old-fashioned. Yeah, but I think that it's very important to know that spiritually, I believe we're still in the Middle Ages.
Really?
Yeah, no matter how polished.
But have you seen Twitter? Because if you've seen the immense creativity and passion that comes from 140 characters of 50 Cent while he's in line at the laundromat, you would know we're going to be just fine.
You know, remember, if H.G. Wells would have dreamed a beeper, he would have never guessed that these would be used for drug dealers. You know?
That's true.
Like all the technology ultimately ends up serving the most mundane uses of it, you know.
Speaking of which, let's talk about 3D.
Sexting messages.
Let's talk, because here's a technology that's amazing and supposed to be whiz-bang, and in the hands of skilled craftsmen, amazing. Yes. In other hands, you get step-up 3D. You're working with, I'm just saying, you're working with James Cameron on a 3D film, which says to me, okay, this is going to be a positive usage of 3D. What is your partnership bringing about with him?
I've been friends with Jim for 20 years, and we carefully avoided working together to not strain the relationship, you know, but once we found a project that we both, you know, he knows I've been pursuing this project for as long as 20 years, so he came on board and we started talking about the uses of 3D, what to do with the creatures, what to do with this and that, and it's really been a fabulous partnership. You know?
And did he just tell you, shoot it in 2D and convert it later? It's a lot easier. Is that what James had to do? Because that's what all the cool kids are doing.
That's what is up. No. I think he, you know, what I love about 3D is not so much things coming at you, but actually the fact that it's the depth it brings. I had one of the first lesson on 3D, which I had with Jim. He, you know, we went to see the equipment. I've never shot 3D, of course, and I was saying, so you know, when the screen, and we were talking about planes, and I mentioned the screen, and Jim turned like a sensei in a kung fu movie, and he said, "What screen? There is no screen."
And you're like, all right, Miyagi, take it down a notch.
Wax on,
wax on, wax off, yeah. And so, when did you put, you also kind of put James in his place a little bit. He told a story when he was on here, he hit a dummy with a folding chair, and I asked him, because he had some inner Hulk rage come out in that moment. You could see the snap transformation in his eye, and it brought him back to being in your office apparently 12 years ago.
Yes.
What happened in your office that has scarred James Cameron to this day?
I was in better shape back then. I was more rounded. No, I had a thing called the Slam Man, which they sold on, you know, Sharper Image catalogs.
Okay.
It was for punching, and I used to practice boxing, and Jim came and I punched him, and the Slam Man would tell you how hard you punched, and I punched it, and
so an instant rating of masculinity.
Instant.
All right.
I hit it, and I get a really great rating, and then Jim hit it, and he didn't get a great rating.
Guillermo, I'm a huge fan. It's a pleasure to have you here. Guillermo del Toro, everybody. You guys can check out The Fall, the second volume in the Strange trilogy with actual scary vampires, available now.